What's up, guys? We're back at it with another lower body day. So today was an interesting day. I went ice skating on the lake with my dog about 6 or 7 kilometers earlier today. So I thought I would be fatigued, but I wasn't at all. So I was feeling quite fresh in my legs. And what I decided to do today was experiment a bit. I decided to do an ass to grass, full depth squat, an HEG squat, and test my max on that lift. So this is something I've never done before, um, and I don't have the ankle mobility to do this without butt wink if I don't use, this pad here or weightlifting shoes. And I believe I can use the pad with, safely. So that's what I did. As you can see here, I hit 110 kilos, but I was very close to actually failing it. And I believe the quads were too weak to kind of take that load on the eccentric portion of the rep, and therefore I had to lean forward and use my back to get myself out of that position, if that makes sense. It could be also that my back is weak and my quads are strong, but either way, I'm going to be training both quads with these squats right here, and spinal erectors, the back, primarily with the good mornings, which I actually overloaded today. So back at it here with 100 kilo squats. Today I managed to get 3 sets of 9. I started off with 3 sets of 8, so I made a little bit of progress, nice and slow. I'll continue to work this up until I can do 3 sets of 10. After that, I'll start over at 3 sets of 8 with 102.5. And if you smart guys out there, you already discovered the system. It's going to be kind of a dual progression where I add reps when I, with a certain weight. When I get to a rep goal, I'll decrease the reps back down, add the weight, and it will kind of undulate in difficulty. Obviously, when I hit 100 for 3 sets of 10, doing the next train, the next workout, doing 102.5 for 3 sets of 8 will obviously be slightly easier. But I believe that kind of undulating intensity is it's probably quite a good thing, because it gives you a chance to really get back on top of your form, shorten the rest periods a bit, work on a few other things, and not really be just constantly in that pain zone of it being very close to failure. That really, at least for me, really wears me out psychologically. So I'm really looking forward to doing this kind of a progression scheme on both my squats and my deadlifts. But right now it kind of sucks, since I started with just over 70% of my max on both. And obviously 3 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 10 is about as much as you can do at 70%. So I'm doing 3 sets of 10, or 3 sets of 9 rather, on both the squat and the deadlift. So it isn't quite maximal, but it's getting there, and it's difficult, especially after having maxed out on a squat in this case. And I am purposely picking kind of the variations that don't completely destroy you. For example, I could have done a regular squat today, but I didn't. I'm saving that for later, saving that for when I can hit a big PR. Last week hit front squat, which obviously it's very difficult, but it's not quite as taxing since you don't use as much total weight. And I did the same thing today with a, full depth, Olympic style squat, doing 110. Felt very heavy. It was very hard on my back. I kind of rounded a bit, but the total compression and weight and load, it isn't quite as bad on the total recovery system as doing the conventional lift a lot of times. Just like doing a deficit on the deadlifts, for example, which that is something I'm going to be doing coming up most likely. Don't know which set. This is set 2 of the deadlifts, so I did 3 sets of 9. The deadlifts were really hard. They look hard. They are hard. Arm bend, back bend, the whole 9 yards. These are challenging for sure. I'll be building this up to 3 sets of 10, and going down to 3 sets of 8 with a slightly heavier weight will be very, very nice. And one thing that you guys, if you're a bit worried, one thing you may not be thinking about, my back, my hamstring, and my glute strength is probably going to be a lot better fairly soon, since I'm really working on these good mornings which are coming up here, and truly putting effort in. And the same thing with the Nordic hamstring curls, which I'm doing as well. I'll be working on both of those exercises. So right now, I'm not really going to the max on either of those, but I'm slowly working up there. And my plan is to make really big progress on both of those to really make sure my hamstrings and my lower back both are by far the strongest they've ever been. That's what they need to be. That's why I need to take them. So these are the last 3 reps here. Basically, my form on these is pretty much the form I would have on an absolute max, which is, arm and back bend and all the terrible stuff. So I'm not proud of the deadlifts today at all, especially with the arm bend. I've been working really hard on not having arm bend. As soon as I thought, okay, fuck it, I'm not going to think about that, you get that several degrees of bending, which puts your bicep in a much, much more precarious position than if you have a fully locked elbow. Moving on, Nordic hamstring curls, 3 sets of 9. All of these sets felt good. It's partly I've gotten into the groove. I've set up the exercise perfectly. It doesn't hurt any joints anywhere. Feels very good. Part of this is kind of the learning curve of timing it and using the hands. So I probably haven't gained much strength right now so far, but my goal is to take these up to 3 sets of 20. And after that, I may do these with the push-up style, but probably with a weighted vest or some other kind of method to make these more difficult. So I do plan on overloading these a lot, and I probably will have to continue to do that for a long while until I can do the proper full Nordic hamstring curl. That is a truly difficult exercise. It's not something that I can do at all right now. But as soon as I can do it for 3 to 5 reps, that's what I will be doing instead of these higher reps. But right now, this is what I'll be working with. If I had a machine where I could do regular hamstring curls, that's what I would do. But this is the next best thing, as I only have barbells. A barbell right here. But to anyone interested in try these. One thing I've noticed is in the beginning I had a lot of DOMS, a lot of soreness in my hamstrings. But right now I don't really feel anything in my hamstrings, which I believe is a good thing since I'm doing more than when I started and it feels better in the muscle. So some form of adaptation has obviously happened, and that is always a good thing in my opinion. Good mornings. These are absolutely tremendous. I'd say the second and the third set were even better than the first set, but they all looked good. No real back bending, kept the legs proper straight, and the goal here is to go down to just above 90 degrees. I don't want to go all the way down to 90, but closing in on being parallel to the floor and making sure to hinge purely at the hips. So I want all the movement here to be at the ankles and at the hips. I don't want my spine to move. I don't want my knees to move. I want all this pressure right into the hamstrings and the lower back and the glutes. And obviously, since I'm using a very light weight for these and with the joint angles involved, this is a lot harder for my hamstrings than it is for my glutes. And while obviously you can see that my bum looks almost pointy and weird, it's putting a lot of kind of stretch into my glutes, but I don't feel it. I don't think it's really hitting those to a large degree, to the level that squats and deadlifts do, for example. So this is mainly for the hamstrings and the lower back, and the goal here will be to progressively overload these to 30, 40, 50, 60 kilos, as high as I can take them with this form. My short-term goal is to get them to 40 kilos, so doubling from the 20 that I started with, which means I have 17.5 left to go, and I should be able to handle it, but there's a big difference between the empty bar and adding 10 kilos on each side, especially on like an exercise like this, which truly just humbles you. This is not an exercise that you should ego lift on. A lot of powerlifters do extremely heavy good mornings, but they obviously do them in racks with safety slings and harnesses and with wider stances, bent knees. They're taking it from being less, it's still a hip hinge, but they're taking a bit of the hinginess away and putting it into the squat. I don't know if you guys have heard of the squat hinge continuum. It's basically a graph. For example, conventional deadlift is more of a hinge than a trap bar deadlift is. The trap bar deadlift is, closer to being a squat. And if you do a trap bar deadlift on blocks, for example, that would be even closer to being a squat, even more upright. And the pure squat would probably be an ATG front squat, for example, completely upright, and you're just squatting down with the knees forward as opposed to hinging a lot of hips. But every squat and every hip hinge has something in common, which is your hips are hinging. Your hips have to hinge to squat any kind of weight, since that's what the glutes do. You can't just, and if you're doubting it, you shouldn't try this, but try sticking a knife in both of your glutes so you can't really use them. Try doing squats. You won't be able to get a single rep of your body weight, so that just shows glutes are important. Moving on, calf raises here. I just realized something, guys. I forgot the abs today, but I'm not doing it now. It's too late. Realize that now. But I did 3 sets of 20 here with 23.75. It's a very specific amount of weight, but that's what I'm doing. Next week, or rather on Thursday, I will do, actually on Monday, I'm stupid. On Monday I'll do 25 kilos of this. So I'm slowly progressing with the smallest possible weights that I have, at least of the Olympic category. I do have smaller kind of micro plates made for dumbbells and such, and I could just as easily fit the chain through those, but I'm doing this kind of a progression speed, so it'll take, Braden's working, maybe 7-8 weeks to add every 10 kilos or so, so I believe this is a good level of progression. 3 sets of 20. Quite soon we should see some good calf progress right here. Alright, that's all I have to say on today. Diet is still going well, eating at 4,000 calories per day, gaining weight. This morning I weighed in at 85 kilograms, the heaviest I've been in a while. Otherwise I've been around 83, so this was an anomaly, but I'll continue working on it. Goodbye.